Now this tool here, in my opinion, should be in every woodturning shop. So what I have here is a scraper. This is square end scraper. This is one of the scrapers that I got from Crown. I believe it was almost like 2 kilos of just the blades like this. Usually smaller stuff like half-inch skews, scrapers, and bedans and stuff like that. But this one I don't have in my collection. It's 3/4 of an inch wide. That's 19 mil wide scraper, 6 mil thick. It's a great, I would say, medium size scraper, square end scraper, very versatile. This one does look a little bit rugged. It does need a little bit of cleaning, polishing up and stuff like that. So we'll do that at the end. Now first, I have here a blank of ash for the handle and the ferrule. Now this one is 23 mil diameter, something like that. Doesn't really matter all that much. And first step is just to drill a hole through the center here, roughly 2 inches in. Now, as I mentioned, this is ash blank. It's 2 inches thickness, square, and 465 mil long. Now on both ends I have centers marked, and the way I like to do this is just place these between the centers, just lightly, so it just holds itself on. The drill bit is on this end, and just slowly turn on the lathe. That wasn't slowly. And just progress with the tailstock. So roughly 2 inches in. So now I have the hole that is in line, so this end with this mark here, so that's important, and your tool will be nice and straight in the handle. So I'll clear here and we'll start with the turning. Now just to show you the size of the drill bit that I'm using here, this is 7.5 mil. And you can see the tank here. So like I said, the thickness is 6 mil. So this is slightly bigger in thickness, but in width here, it's perfect size for this bottom here. And while we pound it in, it should be correct size all the way up to here. If it's getting too snug, then we can always use a slightly bigger drill bit, but I anticipated that this will be almost perfect. So now we are ready for turning. So you can see this end has the hole, and this will go on a tailstock end, and we'll put obviously the ferrule here, the first step, and this end will go on a headstock part. So just a light pressure, that you don't need much. Just make sure your spur drive is engaged. Now to rough this square blade down, I'll use this big Continental spindle gouge. Bring the speed up. So that's 1700 RPM. A little bit of grease on the lathe. Okay, so that's round. Now I'll get back to this end here. Now the first thing that I need to do is install the ferrule here. So I'll use the vernier calipers to set diameter, correct diameter. I'll use 3/4 inch skew. and the width just a little bit more here. The tool rest is just a little bit too high. I'm bumping the camera with my hat, so sorry about that. Clean up the end grain. It's always nice to make a little groove at the very bottom of the, hope you can see it now a little bit better with the light. So nice little groove here. When the ferrule goes on, a little frail of wood won't get stuck. Okay, so that's pretty snug fit. So I'll just pound that in. Okay, so I have the ferrule installed, and this will just go back between the centers. And now the fun part. Back with the skew. This is way too thick of a handle. Okay, that's good. Just remove the bulk here. This is quite good thickness here, which I kind of like. So just finesse it a little bit. Kind of like this detail here, so let's finesse it a little bit. Getting a little bit of vibration, so gently. There we go, so that's good. Center. Long swooping curve. Bring the speed up, now it's 2000 RPM. So I'm getting vibration here, so I'll wrap my hand around. So that's quite good. A little hump here. So we'll do some of the thickness here. You can go with a heel down or with a long point down. It will leave the nice surface no matter what. So this is a little awkward place for the hand. The shape here doesn't look right or feel right. Okay, that's much better. A little finessing. And we can finish it off somewhere around here, let's say. Maybe with a big curve. Little refinement. Okay, so that's pretty good. Yeah, this detail is unnecessary. Maybe I'll just roll it. This sharper point just doesn't feel right. So chatter. And I'll only use 180 grit. Now for the finish I'll use some of this Odie's wax, so just use a little bit on a paper towel. Might need a little bit more. I forgot how this stuff smells great. Not sponsored or anything. You can see I barely use it, so handles like these are a great way to use up some of the old finish that you may have lying around, just to see how it spreads around. Yeah, that's quite nice. Thin parting tool. Okay, so I'm down to the spike and I'll just finish the top by hand. So I have this knob left here, so just use a skew and carve it away. Again, this is just a handle, so it doesn't have to be perfect or really smooth. You want a little bit of texture in the handle. Okay, so that's good enough. Now, just before I install the blade in the scraper, so what I'll do is just clean it up a little bit. Now, what I have here is just a 240 grit sandpaper, and just clean up the shavings a little bit. So what I'll do, just put it like so, do a little bit of cleanup, flattening the very tip here. Don't go crazy, just clean up as much as you can, like with this flat option. Then after I use the what's it called, the pad on the sanding, on the drill. So sanding pad on the drill. So does the job really nice. Now this is 240 grit or 180, not sure, it doesn't say, but it's good enough for this. So drill and take your time. This doesn't have to be perfect. Now you might be able to see that this doesn't want to go in at all. What I like to do usually is just at least 2-3 mil that the scraper enters the handle here. So what I have here, 8.5 mil drill bit, and just drill it all the way down. Now this should, yeah, now that's good. So that's roughly 2-3 mil in, and the corners will dig in, and this should now go in relatively smooth. You want that when you start to pound at the end of the handle here, you want that sensation that it doesn't really want to go in, but it actually does go in. So that's, there we go. So you can see the blade in, and it's already in relatively straight. So just go like this, upside down, tap the handle. So you can see that's already quite a bit in. Just make sure that it's nice and straight, and that's perfect. Couldn't ask for better. See, that's almost a few more taps. Okay, I'll stop here. Doesn't need to go any further. So now we can sharpen this. So what I'm after here at the scraper, so this is what we call a square end, like this. But what I like to do, so if you imagine that this is a 90 degree from here, so this angle is 90 degrees. This is the left side of the scraper that we use. Handle is down there. So what I like to do is give it maybe 1 mil, 1.5 mil, 2 mil tops from this end, and connect it in a straight line like this. Now you don't want to have a straight. What you want to do is introduce a curve, but first it's much easier to make it nice and straight, if you like. So that's the way I sharpen. So if you imagine that this is square, just go from right corner here, 1.5 mil down, mark it, let's say, and connect to this point here, and introduce a straight line. That will give you roughly, let's say, 88 degrees, let's call it like that. And now what you want to do is just roll your scraper left and right, and that will give you a nice subtle curve here, and that will prevent you to have a dig or to have a catch, to introduce too much of an edge, especially on a 3/4 inch wide scraper like this. So the curve will prevent you to use all of the scraper width at once, let's say. You can see the angle here is roughly, so this is the top, this is roughly 70 degrees, let's say. So what I like to do is have it around 45, and I'll use a coarser wheel here just to rub this down. Again, this is still a square end. Okay, so now as I've shown on the drawing, so roughly 1-2 mil here. You can mark it if you would like that, or use a marker or something like that. You can see this a little bevel here, slight bevel here. I would like to go bottom to that, but go to a point here, so connect in a nice straight line, and then we'll introduce the curve by just rolling the scraper left and right. Now you can use a platform like this. This one is roughly set to this angle. Usually it's always set for skew, in my case here, so I always use the top of the platform, but you can use whatever you have or what's convenient for you. Now if I imagine perpendicular line from the wheel down to the left, I don't want to go past that line. To the right, of course, because we need to introduce a little bit of curve to the right, but I don't go past the vertical line like so. A little bit more. Now what I'll actually do is just drop the platform a little bit down, because this is a little maybe too acute of an angle. So again, to the left point here, I don't go past the vertical line, and here I finish up. You can see the angle, let's say, and that's just a rough angle. Now I can feel the burr, so that scraper now is pretty much well ready to be used. Now what I'll do is just flatten the top here a little better. You can see a little bit of a wave to it, let's say, from sanding pad, which is normal, but I would like to flatten this a little bit better. So now I hope you can see, let's say roughly ½ inch, maybe a little bit more, 3/4 of an inch from the top is nice and flat. The flat, what I mean by flat is you can see a little different shine here on the side, and this will, as I move along with the sharpening, this will all get nice and flat. And in the next video, you really don't want to miss that video, because it will be announcement for the refiner and everything else that goes with it. But also I'll do a separate video on sharpening and how to sharpen the refiner, the way I do it at least. And yeah, all that fun stuff will be in the next video, so you really don't want to miss that one. But you'll see actually how I get this nice and flat and everything. So now what I'll do is just put the grinder burr on, final burr. And that's it. That's nice sharp burr on top, and I think it's time to test it out. Now this is a little piece of cherry. It's around, again, 3/4 of an inch thickness. Everything today is around 3/4 of an inch thick. Now we'll make it outside of a plate or something. Now this is out of balance and everything, and on the bench here I have this wide continental spindle gouge, so just use it. still a little bit of, like so. True up the diameter. Okay. Now in my next video I'll explain the use of how to use a refiner and so on, but this one is one of my, I would say, most used after a refiner scraper. Well, actually not this size, but smaller. I have a 1/2 inch and 1 inch, so this is a good middle one. So this is the burr from the grinder, and it's a great tool to flatten the, let's say, the bottom. So the rest needs to go up a little bit. I can bring the speed up now. It's almost 1600 RPM. I feel a little bit of vibration here. And let me show you why the edge here is so important. Now, what I'll try to show you is how the edge or the dust travel from one part of the tool to the other part, just because the edge here is slightly curved. So the pencil should be straight enough, maybe to show you this. So I hope you can see how it rocks to reach the lower point and a higher point here. So left point, right point. So you can see how much movement there is. So let me show you this on timber. You should be able to see a dust come, let's say, from a left part of the timber. And now if I roll to the right, you can see how it travels to the right. Now it's only at the right side. So I cannot engage, well, I could if I'm just being aggressive enough, I could engage all of the scraper at once, but that's not the point. You don't want to do that. So here there is still a little bit of original surface. And the beauty of this, if you want to keep the surface nice and flat, just the shape of the tool will help you with that, and that's pretty good surface. Now I will pull the burr now with the burnisher, and that will give me even better surface. So I have a nice fresh burr or a hook this time, and again in the next video you'll have to just wait. I'll show how I use my burnisher. When you have the scraper that just works beautifully like this, it's so, to me at least, it's one of the best tools I could use. And to see the surface, yeah, that's really nice surface, and you can see that's relatively flat and a little bit high spot here, but all in all it's not bumpy or anything. This edge will help you out with this kind of flat surfaces. So now I'm standing actually quite far away from the lathe, just because the boom arm and everything, just to show you a nice shavings flying off. So I'm getting a lot of big shavings, but this is the important part. I'm getting a lot of this fine powder here, and that's telling me that it's scraping really nice and clean. Yeah, I could do this all day. And you see a lot of big shavings. So if I go with a really light touch, I'm getting really fine powder. Now that's really smooth. And I think it's time to make a little decoration as well. So if I need a recess, let's say, so one point and travel to another point. And now you have a recess. Now we would just clean up the corner here. Now we can use this scraper again to make a decoration. So that's really nice and smooth. Like I said, skew, let's say here, just to undercut it, and make a decoration. So that's done only with scraper. So just take it out and show you. So just to show you the surface, this is straight from the scraper without any sanding. So there are a few little frail of timber down there, but there is no tear out. There is nothing stopping you sanding here from 180 grit, probably even 220, 240. Without too much problem, but I usually start with 180 just to remove any. You can see a lump here, maybe that will take care of that. So this is all nice and smooth. Yeah, really nice. Now I know there will be some opinions out there. Now that's all fine and clear on a side grain portion. Now what about the end grain here? So I'll put it back on the chuck and chew it up on the end grain, and you'll see that it can work as beautifully on the end grain portion here, where most of the turners have trouble with. Now just before I continue on, I have a big split here, or a big knot here. So what I'll have to do is just bring diameter down to this ridge here. I don't want to get caught up underneath this and blow everything apart. So big gouge. So just to be clear here, whenever you're using a pulled burr with the burnisher, it can be grabby on the end grain, side grain portion, like here on a, let's say, side of the plate or a bowl or whatever. So you have to be careful of that. You don't want to just point the scraper in, because you'll have massive catch, or it can sort of grab a little better. So if you're just starting out, put the burr here straight from the grinder or a hone. That will give you the best control, let's say. So again, light pressure, You see I'm getting only really fine powder. Let's see the surface. Yeah, that's pretty good. So a little bit of chip out here, so I'll deal with that a little bit more. So light pressure, again a lot of powder, and that's pretty nice. I'll just show you that a little closer. So hope you can see the surface is really nice. So really light touch. You don't want to force anything with the scrapers, and if you're just starting out, use the burr from the grinder. You don't have to use a burnisher or pull the burr with the hook. On the side grain, end grain portion, you'll get much better results with the burr, with the honing, with the hone, or with the grinder. So you can see that's ready for sanding. So I hope you'll try out this square and scraper, and although it's called square and scraper, you now know that it's not actually square across. And I hope in this video I sort of clarified why is that, why you want to have a little bit of curve to it. And I really like this size. I had, from the carbon steel, I had 19 mil wide scraper like this, but since it's a little bit too, I would say, not fragile, but it does faster, I just used 1/2 inch and 1 inch. So now I have the middle size as well. And yeah, like I said throughout the video, you don't want to miss the next one. It will be the launch of my ever first signature tool called Refiner. And in that video I'll cover what you can buy, what are your options. It will be, I think, kind of unique, since nobody else does it, I hope. You'll see actually more in that video. I don't want to spoil everything, but in that video I'll cover everything that you need to know to from the launch of the tool, how to use it, how to sharpen it the way I use it, and how to get the most out of that scraper. So again, thank you for watching, thank you for all your support and everything. And now I think it's time for you to go in a shop and try to make this scraper.